I can see we're on live now, so I'm really delighted to welcome everybody to this MX special, starting a little late because we had a few technical glitches, but I'm glad to say I think they're solved now. I'm going to shut off any feedback. I'm really delighted to welcome two colleagues of ours from the Energy Medicine Exchange, Michelle Dexter and Alan Bloom. And could you just mute your microphone for a second, Michelle, because it's still feeding back a tiny bit.
Absolutely. Let me figure out how to do that.
There's on the top of the page, there's a couple of icons. But anyhow, you're going to be on in a second, and I really just wanted to be here to frame this exciting workshop. I'm in Colorado, and you guys are in San Diego, and you're welcoming us kind of fly on the wall into your environment, and I can't wait to get in there. So without further ado, really, Michelle and Alan, I hope you're ready, because I'm handing the etheric stage to the Energy Medicine Exchange over to you straight away. And here they are.
Thank you so much, Thornton. Can you hear us?
Yes, perfectly. And I think you're on live to the world.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm really excited to be here today. I think many of you know that I am an integrative psychologist and sexologist. So what I specialize in my private practice is healthy sexuality. When people want to have happy, healthy sex lives and happy, healthy love lives, then I get the privilege of working with them. I work with a lot of people who've been single for a long time and want to change that. We get them through the breakthroughs so that they can actually manifest that. And then people who want, like I said, to have better functionality and more enjoyment and pleasure in their sexual relationship. So when Alan and I came together, obviously I thought it was a really good fit since we have very much the integrative mindset, mind, body, spirit. I tend to focus more, obviously, in psychology on the mind and the spirit, and Alan tends to focus more on the body, of course. Physiology. Yeah.
But a good amount of emotions, because emotions actually cause a lot of the physiology to go awry.
Yes, don't we know it? Absolutely. Yeah. So we do a lot of overlap. I mean, of course, I work in the body level or the physiology too. But I just thought that we were such a good fit for each other, and so we decided to put together this workshop, emotional wellness workshop, because obviously, like Alan just said, when there are trapped emotions or stuck emotions that are unpleasant, that those can actually cause the body and the mind and the spirit to all go haywire and manifest yucky dysfunction. So what I wanted to speak about today is why emotional release, or why releasing stuck emotions, is important for good relationships with yourself and with other people. And I specifically wanted to talk about how that works in the world of energy psychology and energy medicine. And then I wanted to focus on 4 emotions that I think are really common, and that includes anger, shame and embarrassment, fear, and sadness, because I'm sure that all of us have experienced those at one point or another. So to start off, why is emotional release important for good relationships with yourself? Well, first of all, self-hatred does no one any favors, right? Obviously, it doesn't feel good to not like yourself.
I once read in a book, it said LSMFT, it's a mnemonic for low self-esteem equals problems and difficulties.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah. So not only does it make you not like yourself, obviously it's not yourself, it's not fun for other people, because they can feel, that you don't like yourself. I'm sure you've all had the experience where you've been around somebody where it's obviously had low self-esteem and it just wasn't fun to be around them. They just didn't project good energy. It was just kind of a suck. Just kind of
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in integrative psychology and integrative medicine, we work off of the assumption that the body is a biocomputer. And so I really like the work of Dr. Candace Pert. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with her, and maybe you've even read her book, The Molecules of Emotion. And what I understood from reading her book is that cells actually as memory chips. If the body is a biocomputer, the cells are the memory chips, and that they hold the data. And it's the neuropeptides that are expressed every time we have a thought. These chemicals, these neuropeptides, actually interact with the cells. And so then the cells are going to remember that particular signature of the peptide. So when we're thinking thoughts like, gee, I really hate myself, we are producing rather damaging neuropeptides in our bodies. And then
hormones.
And hormones, yes, exactly, yes. So, you know, when they say thoughts are things, they're right. They are literally chemicals and hormones and all of that. And so our cells, you know, recognize that particular signature. And conversely, when we're thinking positive thoughts, like, you know, gee, I feel really nice, or, oh, I accept myself, you know, then we're producing happy, healthy neuropeptides and happy, healthy hormones. And then the cells respond with that particular signature of health and balance and harmony and all those good things. Obviously, it's not a good thing if we're thinking negative thoughts all the time, and then we are doing damage to ourselves at our cellular level, which of course turns into damage patterns that we're holding at the tissue level, and then of course these things can manifest in physical dysfunction, you know, not to mention behavioral dysfunction. So hopefully I've made a good case here for why it's important
for emotional
wellness.
wellness.
For emotional wellness, yes.
Hence the name of the seminar.
Yeah, hence the name of the seminar. Yes, exactly. Interpersonally, those are the reasons. Excuse me, intrapersonally, but interpersonally, also stuck negative emotions can really wreak havoc in relationships. You know, people are more intuitive than they realize. You know, sometimes it's really funny, you know, just how intuitive people are. They can really sense your emotional state and even who you are. I was shopping in a store recently with my mother, and there were people in front of us, and the clerk didn't say anything to them other than, hello, how are you? But when my mother and I got to the check stand, she said, you know, we have a teacher discount in the door.
She was probably listening to your vocabulary. You were absolutely brilliant.
Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate it. But I just thought that was funny. That was obviously just, my mother and I are obviously broadcasting teacher vibe. So, you know, we act out our emotions, and we act out our emotional states, and people are picking up on those things. So if you've ever been around somebody who was just had a lot of anger in their lives, you could kind of pick that up, right?
Or hostility,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
pretty similar.
Yeah, exactly. A cousin, right? They live next door to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so even though that person may not be angry in the moment, you know, they still project a lot of anger just everywhere they go. It's just the way they facial expressions, the tone of their voices, and all of that. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being around people who are perpetually angry.
I just put up resolve.
Well, that's good. And I put up my boundaries too, but I still don't like being around them, even with my boundaries up.
True.
Yeah.
One thing, Michelle, and we're on a first name basis. This is Dr. Dexter, but we're on a first name basis. Anyway, if you remember, we were going to show a little bit about muscle testing, since everything we do is kind of dependent on that.
Yes.
Did you want to get into that?
I was going to get to that in just a moment. Whoops.
Okay, well, continue.
Thank you. I just dropped my notes here. Excuse me. Here we go.
Can I hold this?
Oh, no, I've got them. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So, like I said, you know, we act out our stuck feelings, and this can be damaging to relationships. So moving on now to energy psychology and energy medicine, I wanted to speak a little bit about a technique called neuro-emotional technique. And I wanted to share with you today kind of my way of doing this. There's lots and lots of derivations, and I'm going to show Michelle Dexter way of doing it. And this is actually rooted in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. So in Ayurveda, they talk about the pulses. There are 3 pulses on the inner side of each wrist. And they actually are correlated to the Chinese elements. So on the left hand, this one is water, and then wood, and then fire. And then on the right hand, there's fire, earth, and metal. And so that's why when you go see an Ayurvedic doctor, that he or she might feel each of your pulses and use this as diagnostic information about what's going on with you.
Also, at the base of the thumb, you have the governor vesicle
Yes.
and the central vesicle.
Yeah, so, and then right here, this spot between your thumb and your wrist, on either hand, this is your governing vessel and your conception vessel.
Oh, that's it.
Yes, yes, which runs through your whole body. It's the midline. Yeah. So that's another part of traditional Chinese medicine too, and sometimes used in Ayurveda. So it actually turns out that in each of these points, that these are correlated to certain meridian lines. So for example, on the left hand, this one right here, this point closest to the wrist, this one is correlated to the fire element, like I said, and this one is correlated to the heart meridian. So people who have, say, heart troubles, you know, or have suffered heart attacks, often that is a manifestation in the energy of having a broken heart. So we have to go in and we have to clear out whatever negative emotions are stuck there. And gee, isn't it interesting? Both of us have had this experience many, many, many times in our practice, that when we clear out the stuck emotions, that people have spontaneous healing, that their health problems magically disappear, which is obviously what we're up to.
Well, I often find when I'm doing structural corrections, for instance, I'll ask if there's an emotion in there, and often I find one, and clear that, and it actually makes a difference in the long run of healing that problem, because emotions move forward in time. So I'll correct a misalignment subluxation, but it keeps coming back because the emotion keeps coming back and causing that problem again. But when we clear the emotion, it doesn't keep coming back.
Exactly. Yes, it actually allows the space for healing because you've gotten rid of the damaged pattern or the damaged energy. I think it's Scott Walker who talks about this, how he talked about subluxations in chiropractic. He could correct a client, you know, he could correct the subluxation, but then a client would have the negative emotional state and the subluxation would come right back. And so the only way to make the correction stay was to release the emotion.
Right. Hence he came up with NECs, or no emotional
complexes.
Yes,
exactly. Which frankly, for the rest of us, I just like to call stuck negative emotion.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So how does it work? Well, in this particular method, you're going to hold one of the points representing the element and the meridian line, and then simultaneously hold the forehead. Now, why holding the forehead is important is it turns out that there's actually 6 points right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 in a line on the forehead, and these are the emotional wellness points.
Well, they're the emotional points.
The emotional points. You know, different people call them different things. But regardless, you know, this is what this does when you hold your forehead is this draws blood into the prefrontal cortex. And this is a good thing because often when we're in a negative emotional state, we're stuck right back here in core brain. We're actually stuck in limbic system. And limbic system is not terribly rational. Limbic system works really fast and doesn't care about emotional wellness, and it doesn't care about other people, and it doesn't care about relationships. Why the limbic system can hijack the forebrain really fast. You know, this is why sometimes when you're angry, you say something, you just blurt out something really angry and ugly, and then a couple seconds later you think, oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, that whole thing is all survival stuff.
It is all survival stuff. So, you know, it serves a good function, you know, but obviously when we're holding on to trapped emotion, that's not serving a good function. So that's why we need to do this stuff in order to get rid of that garbage. So simply placing your hand gently across your forehead covers all of those 6 points and draws blood back into the rational prefrontal cortex and out of limbic. And so you actually get some proper perspective on the emotion. So simply holding the point, whether it's, you know, GVCV or the others. So I'll demonstrate GVCV, just that point right there, and then placing across the forehead. That's what the correction looks like. So I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. So while you're doing this, it's also a good idea to, now you don't have to do this, this is an optional step, but it is a good idea to check with muscle testing, which we'll get to in just a moment, about is there an original event where all this got started, or to look for an earlier event where this got started or a similar event, because it's the idea that if you can go back to clearing out the original event, that you can clear out a whole bunch more. It's kind of like the idea of you can trim off the weed, and then you've solved the problem. The weed, is gone, or you can pull it out by the root. And if you can pull out the root, then it probably won't grow back. So it's a deeper level of healing.
Right. But looking for the original event first, sometimes the body just can't do that. So just look for an earlier similar event. And then when you've cleared that earlier similar event, look for an earlier event. And then when you can't find any earlier similar events, then you basically found the original event. That's, I believe Scott Walker mentions that too. But
I think so.
But on the other hand, just as a point of information, Scott Walker was also a student of my mentor, Dr. Victor Frank of TBM. And what he did was combine TBM with acupuncture meridian therapy to come up with NET or neuroemotional technique. I wasn't sure you knew that.
I knew that it had been inspired by a bunch of different things, but I didn't know that particular piece. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you're done. You can let go of the pose when one of two things happens. One, you feel calm about it, you feel emotionally neutral, or two, that your mind drifts to something else. Like, gee, I think maybe I'd like chicken for lunch. So that's how you know. That's how you know it's complete. And of course you can verify with muscle testing.
Right. So, and basically you're not stuck on the emotion anymore, is what Michelle's trying to say.
Exactly. Now sometimes there are rare cases where you won't necessarily feel emotionally better, but you can muscle test, is the emotion that remains appropriate? Because sometimes, like, maybe you've been through a really harrowing emotional experience and you're not going to feel better, but at least the neuroemotional complex or the stuck emotion is gone.
Mm-hmm.
But that happens rarely. Most of the time, it's been my clinical experience and my personal experience that about 99% of the time that myself and my clients get to the point where it's like, okay, I feel neutral.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we wanted to talk a little bit about muscle testing. So did you want to demonstrate self-muscle testing? Okay.
Why don't we stand up?
Okay.
We could probably move on to the other side of this table.
Okay.
Okay. So just for very basic muscle testing, my name is Michelle.
My name is Michelle.
That's strong. Just pick a name at random.
My name is Fred.
See, it doesn't stay strong. And there's a lot of ways to also self-muscle test, and you may want to do that for some of the work we're going to do. The easiest self-muscle test is the standing tilt test. You just say yes, 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 and relax, and you tend to tilt forward. And by the way, I wasn't demonstrating, I was actually doing it. I did tilt forward. And then when I think no, 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 I start tilting back and fall over backwards.
Yes.
But, and there's also, just to give you a couple more real quick, you can do yes, yes, yes with the O-ring, and no goes weak, strong stays yes. You could also do it this way, yes, no. I like to do it this way, one finger over the other, yes, 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 a strong no, it just very easily bends. There's also a lot of ways that the body can block the muscle testing, and it's way, way outside of the preview of this workshop to teach all of that. So if your muscle testing isn't working, just center yourself as much as you can. And usually that's enough to clear things up enough so you can muscle test. If not, you may need to talk to either me or to try and straighten that out. As I said, this is sort of outside the range of this class. Why don't we go back?
Yes.
Michelle can go through the materials she wants to teach.
Yes. So yeah, muscle testing is obviously important in this, because obviously you need to muscle test, do I have this trapped emotion? So the first one that I want to talk about is anger. And I have a case study I'd like to share with you. I had a woman who came to me because she was really in not a good place in her relationship. She'd been with her boyfriend, and well, on the surface things were going well. They had just purchased a new house and they were fixing that all up, and they were planning on eventually marrying. she was really in the space where she felt like she was made to be wrong. That was a direct quote. You know, that she just felt criticized all the time, and she just felt like he didn't really respect her and didn't trust her to be competent, you know, to do things. And so this was really, really taking a toll on their relationship and also on their sex life. So they rarely had sex anymore. And she just felt, like, why should I have sex with you? You don't make me feel safe. You don't make me feel wanted. You don't make me feel competent. So why? And she knew that that was obviously going to be the death knell for the relationship if she didn't clean this up. So that's why she came to see me. So we talked a lot about that. And we talked about where she felt small and where she felt wrong, and why she felt so angry. And so we cleared all of that up. And it didn't take too long, just a few sessions. And she started coming in with her sessions, you know, and I'd ask how are things going, and the progress was really immediate, just within a few weeks. And she said, you know, I'm feeling stronger, and I'm feeling like I can stand up for myself, and it's okay to say things like, I don't like it when you talk to me that way. So I'm happy to report that she only needed a handful of sessions. And she came in for her last session. I said, well, do you still feel wrong? And she said, absolutely not. And our sex life is much better. I have as much sex as I want. And I think he's happier too. So obviously, you know, anger can really get in the way of a relationship. And so I'm going to demonstrate this now. Anger is housed in the wood element, and it's also housed in the liver meridian. So it's not a shock that a lot of people who have chronic anger develop liver dysfunction. I'm sure you've seen that a lot in your practice too.
Sure, it could also be gallbladder.
Yes, or gallbladder, absolutely. Yeah, the two are interconnected.
Oh yeah, in TBM, for instance, when liver is out, blood is out, and vice versa. So you got to.
Yeah. So Ellen is going to graciously be my volunteer here. And so we are going to demonstrate a clearing of anger by holding on to the wood point. So that is, yes, the middle point. So you just measure with your 3 fingers, and it is the middle point on the left wrist. So that's what it is. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to keep this really simple. So Ellen, can you think of an example? Just, you don't have to tell us, but just bring up an angry.
Someone I'm angry
Yeah,
at.
someone you're angry at. Yeah, and just hold that.
Okay.
Yeah, and just take a few deep breaths. And when it clears, let us know.
Seems clear.
Okay.
You want to test my own?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so show us yes, show us no. Is it clear? Yes. Okay, great. Strong muscle. Excellent. Thank you.
You want to look for an earlier similar?
Yes. So from your deepest wisdom, is there an earlier or similar? I'm getting no.
Good.
That week. So,
Okay.
All right. So I think you're fixed. How do you feel in the moment?
Well, I don't feel like a dog or a cat, but I'm fixed.
Okay. And how do you feel emotionally about that anger circumstance?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Surprised you.
Yeah, you did. That was funny. I liked that. Okay. All right. So my next one is shame or embarrassment. We've all been ashamed or embarrassed at some point in our lives. So the case study that I want to share with you is I had a middle-aged man who came to me because he was suffering from some erectile dysfunction. And I have to tell you that most of the time, it's when I look at the pie of the problem, you know, it's usually the pie slice that's physical is usually only about 5% or less, and about 95% or more is emotional stuff. At least that's been my experience in my practice. Other people might have a different experience.
Well, that's primarily what you're looking for too.
Well, exactly. I mean, there's a bias there, you know, since obviously I am a sexologist. But my point here is that for many men, that there are emotional reasons behind this. Obviously, for some men, that's not the case. But anyway, this middle-aged man, he came of age. He was a teenager before the internet was available. And so this was in the era where men looked at pornography in magazines. And so he got his hand on some pornographic magazines, and he decided, well, I don't want to hide them in my bedroom because my mom might find them. So he got the bright idea that he would hide them in the utility closet, I think with the water heater or the furnace. And So that was all fine and good until the water heater broke. And then his mother discovered his porno magazines. And oh boy, did she let him have it. Yeah, she told him he was disgusting and he was a bad son. And so he took on all these ideas, consciously and unconsciously, I think, about, sex isn't okay. My sexuality isn't okay. It's not okay to be sexual. It's not safe to be sexual. It's not safe to express my sexuality. It's not safe to have sexual expression in the world. And so, of course, this was manifesting in his middle years as erectile dysfunction.
Well, everything was good until he was so embarrassed about it, then he had to turn that part of his life off.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
He was probably just expressing normal curiosity.
Oh, I think he was, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to make that very clear, that I think that's very normal, say, for teenage boys to be interested and to want to look at pornographic materials. And yeah, obviously his mom did him a disservice by shaming him for his normal curiosity. So anyway, what we worked on is clearing out his shame and his embarrassment, and this is corrected by holding the GED, the governing vessel and conception vessel point. And so simply holding this point, I usually like to spin my hand around and hold it like this. Either way, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you're doing it right, Ellen. And then placing your hand across the forehead. So just go ahead and think of an event where you had shame. So yes, okay. So I got weak on that because did you clear it already?
I may have cleared it.
Yeah, I think you cleared it already.
I may have cleared it years ago. Let's find another one.
Okay. All right. So do you have a stuck emotion on shame or embarrassment? Yes. Okay. And I'll just let you breathe.
Okay.
All right. And is that 100% healed and balanced? Yes. Okay. Any earlier or similar? Yes. Oh, no. Okay. That went weak. Okay. All right. So that one's clear. How do you feel in the moment, emotionally?
Just kind of drifty, very nice.
Okay, well, I'll take that as evidence of healing.
Yeah, okay. Tranquil.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's normally how I feel after I've done this too. I just feel, like you said, kind of tranquil and rather than upset or out of sorts. Okay, so my next case is fear, or my next emotion I want to talk about is fear. And the case I want to share with you is I had a young woman. She was in her mid-30s. And she wanted to get married and have children. That was really important to her. But she knew that in terms of her biological clock, that she didn't necessarily have a lot of years left. She wanted several children. And I think she was 34 so when she was coming to see me. So she was really kind of anxious to find a husband and have some babies. But she had not dated in years. I don't think she'd been on a date in about 4 years. Mm-hmm. And so I asked her why. I said, what's going on here? And it just turned out that she just had this overwhelming fear of dating again. The idea of meeting people and then going through painful breakups or having to get rejected or rejecting them, and all of it was just too overwhelming. And it was just so much easier for her just to go to work, go home, and just not date anybody. So we worked on her fear, and it didn't take that too long, several sessions, I want to say about 3 or 4. And we cleared some phobic states in addition to just the regular fear, because obviously when fear gets extreme, we call that irrational fear. And that's phobia. So we cleared up some phobias, we cleared up her fear. And she came in for her last session and she sat down and she said, I did it. I signed up for online dating. So obviously, fear can really hold us back from doing the things that we know that we want to do. So the fear is held in the water element and in the kidney meridian. And so that one is also on the left hand. And this is the one that's this point right here, the third, representing your third finger. Go ahead and hold that and think of something you're afraid of. Okay. And do you have an emotional complex on that? No. Okay. Did you clear that already? You're so fast. Such a good healer.
Maybe. Let me see.
I felt like you healed that the second you put your hands on your forehead.
How about that one?
Okay. So something else you're afraid of. Is this a stuck emotion? Yes. Okay. So just take a couple deep breaths.
Okay.
Okay. And is that healed and balanced 100%? Yes. Okay. Great. Similar. And is there any earlier similar? Yes. Okay. So just think about whatever that is.
Okay.
Okay. Good. All right. And is that now 100% healed and balanced? Nope. Okay, just take another breath.
Okay.
All right, is that now 100% healed and balanced? Yes. Okay, great. So,
Earlier similar.
and is there any earlier similar than that? Nope. Okay, great. Okay, fabulous. How do you feel in the moment?
Tranquil.
Good. All right. Again, more evidence of healing.
Went from fear to tranquility in a few moments.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Mm.
your face even looks a little more relaxed.
Yeah, usually patients will, they'll be a little pale and suddenly there's some color in their
Yes.
face.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so the last emotion I want to talk about is sadness. And this one is something obviously that all of us have experienced. Life is full of sad things or things that give us grief. So the case study I want to share with you is a woman who came to me. She'd been married for a number of years, close to 20 years, but the last 10 or so had just been miserable. And she just thought, well, I'm committed to the marriage. I want to stay in the marriage, but I can't abide this deep level of sadness that I'm carrying around for how rotten the last 10 years of my life have been. So we cleared all that up and a few other things. And she and her husband came in for their last session. And they were very happy. And they still had some other things to work through, but they felt like they had really made a breakthrough in their marriage and that they were committed to each other, that they were back in love again, and that they understood that there was more work to do, but that they were ready to take the journey. So that was a good thing. Alrighty, so grief and sadness is housed in the metal element, and that is in the lung meridian. And so this one is on the right hand, and this one, when you place the 3 fingers, it's closest to the wrist. So Ellen, bring up something that you've been sad about. Do you have a neuroemotional complex on this? Nope.
I've cleared.
You cleared it. You're so fast.
Well, no, I've cleared it years ago.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay.
Okay. All right. Do you have a neuroemotional complex on this? Yes. Okay. Go ahead and just read through that.
Okay.
All right. Good. And is that 100% healed and balanced? Yes. And was there any earlier or similar? No. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good. So how do you feel in the moment?
I think a little better than just tranquil. It's kind of like I can breathe deeper.
Oh, good.
Things have opened up.
Good. Good. And if you don't mind me saying so, I felt like there was kind of a shift in your shoulders, that something happened here, because that's interesting, because it's held here in the sadness is held in the lung meridian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was so subtle that I just saw something happen right here on your shoulder. Did I imagine it?
No. Generally, the fellow who adjusts me keeps saying I'm not breathing in over here.
Mm.
When I breathe now, this part of my chest is moving.
Oh, good.
Usually, when he fixes me, it does that, but like the emotions keep moving forward in time. So again, it gets clogged up again. This time it opened without a physical adjustment, then maybe it'll be more permanent.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
That would be fabulous. Alrighty, so that's what I wanted to share at this time. That obviously I am happy to see anybody who would like to come to me for any stuck emotions or phobias or anything like that. And by the way, I do give a free 15-minute consultation, and I'm happy to give a sample session of this emotional release work. And my website is right there on the page, so that's where you can contact. So
let me just add, Michelle also worked with people, never actually coming in contact with them by doing it on Skype or on the phone. So
yes, you don't need to be local.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate that.
And you can contact her through the EME webpage, and I think you've provided our phone numbers and such.
Yes, I have. Yes.
So I'm Dr. Alan Bloom, and I've been teaching classes around San Diego and developing all kinds of techniques and such for different kinds of problems, emotions, physiology. I've taught at the TBM research seminar several times, original work that I've developed. In fact, the work I'll be teaching a little later is all original work. So you really can't get this anywhere else. But also, just recently, a few months ago, I taught in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, at the Natural Healing Research Seminar. Basically, Randall Frank, Dr. Frank, is the son of Dr. Victor Frank. He developed his own technique called natural healing, which for lack of a better way to describe it, is just very way advanced TBM type stuff, but it's his stuff, not TBM's. And and recently, obviously, I've been teaching with Dr. Dexter. Um, we've put together a few seminars. I think we should probably do one on straight muscle testing for the group, because there are a lot of very good muscle testers out there, and then there's a lot of people in our group who would like to be able to muscle test, or at least muscle test better. And I would say if Michelle and I taught for an hour or so on muscle testing, you could probably cut out about 10 years on the learning curve of how to muscle test. But it wasn't always like this. Back in 1982, I suffered severe fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, adrenal exhaustion. I was a mess. But I had worked for my mentor, Dr. Frank, for a brief period of time. So when I got ill, I was looking for some solutions. As a chiropractor, yes, I could get relief, and I was able to keep functioning. But as most people know, with those kinds of problems, you just don't get any better. You're sort of stuck. So by studying this work, and over time, I actually became very conversant in it, to the point of developing my own tools. In fact, I developed a technique called chronic maladaptive stress response. Time isn't going to really permit us to go into that in depth, but it's the strongest tool I've got for helping someone with chronic fatigue and adrenal exhaustion. And quite honestly, since I suffered those problems, I am very passionate about helping people with those kinds of problems. What I'd like to do, since Michelle had just mentioned some of the things she does and how you can contact us, and we may not have a lot of time at the end. For those of you listening, if you just call my office and use the emotional wellness as the password for the next 30 days, if you're local, you can come into the office. For $25, we'll do a complete exam, and I'll treat you. For those of you, I do distance healing. I'll be happy to do a free distance session. Again, you can use emotional wellness for the next 30 days, and we'll do a free 10 or 15-minute session. And let's see, I guess that's about it. Maybe we should get into the body of my work. And let me see my notes. This is the first time I'm reading. No, I'm kidding. Come on out here.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we actually, if you want to sit, you can. That would be fine. Okay. The first, we do have handouts that you can download from the website here, right?
Yes, available online.
And I'm going to teach 3 original techniques that I developed. The first one is called emotional wellness, hence the name of the seminar. We stole it from the technique. Basically, the emotional wellness is...
Should I stand? It might be better if I stand.
Okay. Emotional wellness. Basically, we use the emotional points. The wellness point is right here. It's 2 inches above the end of the rib cage, or 2 inches below the nipple line, and it's right in the nipple line. So you go like this to touch the wellness point, and then you touch this point over here, which is self. And basically, you come down from the interclavicular notch, ridge on the bone. You feel it. The center of that is the self-communication point. And Dr. Randall Frank developed wellness and self. He taught it at research seminars for TBN, plus he still teaches those points in his seminar. The emotional points, I believe, were originally from TBN, but Scott Walker is probably most known for using those from neuroemotional technique. So let's see. Do you have a particular issue you want to work on?
An emotional issue today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to state it?
Sure, I'm angry.
Okay. Angry. Okay. We could probably use her anger correction, but emotional wellness would work. So put your hand across your forehead. I'm touching the wellness point. I'm touching the self point. And think of that issue. See, we've got a weak muscle. So now you just tap on P8 and it's strong. So think of that issue and it's strong. Is there anything connected to that issue? No. Is there an early similar? No. Is this issue done complete? Think of is there a person involved? You don't need to mention any
Yes.
name.
Yes.
Okay. You can look that up.
Okay.
Are there any other issues with this person? We'll go real quick.
Okay.
So, emotional wellness again. What do you know?
Shocking.
Put your hand across your forehead. Okay, you've got that issue
Mhm.
with tapping. Okay, good. Anything else connected to this? No. And nearly similar? No. Okay, let go. Are there any other issues with this person? So we've cleared that person out of your universe for the moment.
Good.
Okay, so that's basically that technique. It's very useful, can clear a lot of things. We're going to go to effect. Effect is, by the way, emotional wellness, I believe, was probably the first emotional technique I developed probably about 15 years ago, but it's very useful. It comes up a lot. You can see it works. Effect was another early technique I developed. And basically, effect is self, start, which is 4 fingers on the coronal suture, and you go to pineal, which is maybe a ½ an inch above the eyebrows. Now, this is strong. Is there a situation in your life that you felt really sexual?
Yes.
Think of that.
Mhm.
Okay. So, is this past, present, future, all mild? It's moderate. Is it severe? No. So we're going to go self, start, self. We get a weak muscle. Breathe in, out, don't breathe. And, okay, so think of that issue.
Mhm.
Is there anything connected? Well, first off, think of that issue. We've got a strong muscle. Is there anything connected to that? Is there an earlier similar? Since it was past, present, and future, I didn't think so. Mild, moderate, severe. That one's clear. Is there anything else involved with this issue that should be run now? No, so that one's clear. So basically, self, coronal suture, pineal, and self, and push and strong. So basically, that's the second technique that we're teaching. And it can be used for any kind of thing that you feel you're at the effect of. You can go like this, 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 and test the muscle. If you've got a weak muscle, you could ask the questions that I just asked. And I even use it for things like fixing, let's say, liver. Is this the effect of something else? If I get a yes, I'll run my menu like a computer menu. I'll find out what it's the effect of, and I'll tap that point, tap say the liver point, and then I'll just do self, start self. I'll get a weak muscle and I'll fix it. I may ask past, present, future. Physiology, that's not so necessary. When it's emotions, you do need to kind of lock in where it came from.
That makes sense.
Yeah, someone who's as advanced in neuroemotional technique knows that I said a real truism there.
Yes.
Okay, so the refrain is something I just came up recently. I probably should have come up with it years ago, because you see, this is start, and when we were talking about effect, when you self-start self, you're self-starting yourself. It's hard to be at effect if you're self-starting yourself. Now, refrain is self-stop self. So basically, it's pineal and the coronal suture like this, and then back to self. So, so that's self-stop self. Now, what I find with this one is it's not like throwing a brick at someone and making them stop smoking. It's sort of like for you, you're smoking, you'd like to stop and or cut down, but it's not. So now you're more, running this technique will make you more in control, like, gee, I can stop having a cigarette right after dinner like a habit. So you can start cutting down, you're a little bit more in control. That's what that one is for. So is there something you'd like to cut down on?
Yes.
And by the way, I've been kind to Michelle and not forcing her to spill her guts, and we're trying to keep her confidentiality if there's an issue. Is this one something that?
Oh, this one I'm happy to share. I love sugar. I want to eat sugar, and then I want to eat more sugar, and then more sugar.
Share.
Yes.
Share the sugar.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. I find myself thinking, oh, that looks good, and that looks good, and that looks good.
Well, but before we even run that, this is something from TBM. This is Sugar Crave.
Well, thank you.
Breathe in. Now it's gonna breathe. So we just fixed Sugar Crave, and that's strong as a rock now.
Okay, good.
But think about sugar
Okay.
and wanting it.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to do cell, stop, cell. And there it goes. We breathe in. Out. Okay. Anything connected to this, any area similar. So cell, stop, cell is strong. And those are three very simple techniques that I'm choosing to give you. They're all original work. So consider yourself fortunate, because you wouldn't be able to get this anywhere else. And what I like about this workshop, between what Michelle shared and what I shared, and by the way, Michelle was sharing original work too. She didn't invent neuroemotional technique, but she did save several steps in clearing those emotions the way she just taught it to you. And she gave you a good variety of emotions that you could work with. Plus the three that I just gave you have a lot of latitude to them. You can use them in so many ways, really good to use. So I heard some music. Are we off the air?
No, it's fine. Keep going.
Anyway, I'd like to turn this back to Thornton.
Yes.
And by the way, I think we probably should teach a few more seminars in the future.
I would like that.
Hi, Alan.
Hi. Oh, by the way, Thor, since I've worked on you several times, you might want to choose to share a little bit about your experience of the work. You've also sat in a couple of classes I've taught.
Well, I'll be delighted to do that, Alan. I'm competing here with a few half-wolf hybrids that are in the pen next to me, and some vehicles that are traveling up the mountain, but I'll try and speak clearly. Yeah, I mean, I've always been impressed by your techniques, Alan, and especially the new process to handle environmental issues and sensitivities. I'm feeling personally, going into a session with you, quite aware of limitations, and then coming out feeling very tuned and optimized and kind of centered, as if you really understand my kind of core process and being. And that's, really why we've had this session today. I think just the kind of friendship we've built up, and from me personally wanting to get as much access from others to you, and one of the bases of EME is to share protocols, and both of you have done that on stage today, and so I consider this a fantastic session, and I'll be promoting it widely so that others can see it in the archive. There's a great number of people watching live, I'm happy to say, and a number of people have commented how simple your techniques are, and they can drop them into their toolbox. So really is a thumbs up globally, and as people in Asia come to see this from the YouTube link, which is widely posted on EME and even on your page now, Alan, we'll look forward to getting more comments, and I've ensured everyone that if they've got questions that need to be answered, that I'll endeavor to make sure they are. So just to perhaps hand the stage back to you, and my colleagues can see you, so you can wave us off. You've done a fantastic job from San Diego, but it's information that can be shared globally. In this current medical environment, health choice is a priority. And if we can bring primary health care into the home with simple techniques that allow families to perhaps stay healthy, optimize their health, and not have to go down the pharmaceutical route at all, which obviously there is a last resort. So it really is a pleasure to sign off today. It's been a great conversation. Michelle, you did brilliantly rescuing me from hosting the Hangout. And my computer crashed. I have to commend you on that. I really do. And look forward to welcoming you both back to do some more things with EME. But in the meantime, thank you very much. I'll let you guys get on with the rest of your day. One final wave. Cheers, Alan. Cheers, Michelle.
Cheers. Thank you.
God bless you. And your websites, as you said, and all the links and the documents and the pages that you've sent me have been posted widely in EME and on the event page. And importantly, I have extended that event page for a couple of weeks so that people who haven't discovered the link until today can still access it. And there's lots of great information on there that you've provided. So I'll make sure people can access that page and all the goodies, including this live session you've given us over the next few months. So God bless you. Have a good weekend, rest of the weekend. And you can go off air now. You're in control.
Okay. All
God
right.
bless you.
Thanks again.
God bless
Bye,
you,
Thornton.
Well done.